Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my channel. This is Living in Alberta, and today we got a little bit more of a tactical video for you. We are going to look at kind of the step-by-step process on what it takes to make the move from Ontario to Alberta. We're going to kind of talk about some things like, things that don't really get talked about, like out-of-province inspections, kind of the order things need to go in, hiring movers, a little bit more boring stuff, but definitely things that people really want to know. So let's get right into it. Let's take a look at how to make the move from Ontario to Alberta. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Kyle. Welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. On this channel, we break down everything when it comes to moving to or living in Alberta. So if you do want to see more videos like this one, hit the subscribe button and click that notification bell so you are notified every single week when a new video comes out. And of course, if you would like any help with your real estate needs, I am a licensed realtor in the province. Use this information popping up right now. Get a hold of me any way you want. Would love to hear from you. All right, let's get right into the video. All right, let's get started, guys. I am going to break down a lot of experiences that I have with my clients, a lot of questions they get asked, and we're going to kind of walk you through some important things that you're going to want to know when you're making that move from Ontario to Alberta. Now, you've decided to take the plunge. You've had enough of Ontario for whatever reason it is. It seems to be like there is a lot of reasons nowadays that people are moving to Alberta. But first off, you're going to have to decide how in the heck are you going to get out here. So let's take a look at kind of like the moving process. Now, obviously, I've had lots of clients who have done it the old-fashioned way. They've hired a big old U-Haul. They've packed it themselves. They drove it out here. They ended up putting their vehicle. They shipped their vehicle out here via train. That is definitely the old school option. And if you got, if you're a little bit younger, you want to do a little bit more of the labor, it's definitely a good option to go. But it seems like things kind of are trending towards these big steel boxes, pods, U-boxes. A lot of people are starting to use these services this way. So for those of you that aren't familiar with how these moving systems work, basically you, for example, with Big Steel Box, they drop a big steel box out in front of your house. You pack it full of your stuff, or you can hire them to pack it for you. And then they ship it out to your home in Alberta. Or what I love about these box style options is that if you are moving to Alberta and you haven't found a house yet, maybe you're heading out to Alberta and you're going to rent for a little bit while you look for a home to buy, they will store your stuff in these boxes at their storage facility in Alberta. So it takes away the whole process of trying to find a storage unit. What are you going to do with all your stuff? And when you finally do find that home that you want to buy, and of course, it's going to cost you money to keep this stuff at their storage unit, but it's going to cost you money to keep it at a storage unit anyways. But when you do find a home that you want to buy, they're going to bring this box, this U-box or this big steel box, and they're going to drop it off right at your front door where you can unload it, or again, you can hire them to unload it for you. Now, it seems like Big Steel Box and U-box seem to be kind of the most popular. I feel like from, just conversations that I had with clients and a lot of reading articles online, that U-box might be the most economical. But what you're also seeing is people doing a combination of the two. So people might order one big steel box. They find that they don't have enough room, but they don't really need another huge big steel box. So they get these smaller boxes called the U-boxes, and they kind of combine those two together to make the move out to Alberta.
Now, let's move out.
Now, of course, you can also, and I think this is probably going to be the most expensive option, but you can hire a moving company. They're going to come in your house. They're going to pack everything up for you, wrap it up nice and neatly. They're going to put it in their trailer and they're going to pack it out to Alberta for you. And again, move it in to your home in Alberta. When I moved on my last home here from Red Deer out to an acreage, I actually used a moving company. I know some people might call me lazy.
Don't mind me.
Just do what you want.
But it really was, super awesome experience because I didn't lift a single thing. They put down, carpets throughout the whole house so they didn't mark up the house, and they hauled everything in, and my wife sat there and directed them, telling them where to put everything. So very convenient way, definitely going to be a little bit more expensive than the other option. But this is definitely the first step. I know it seems a little bit obvious, but I mean, it's a stressful situation moving all the way across the country from Ontario to Alberta. So a lot of the times people are wondering what their options are. Again, the boxes and the pods and the big steel boxes seem to be a very popular option, very economical, in which a lot of people are leaning towards. But again, you can do it yourself. The U-Haul, ship your vehicle by train, or again, you can have movers do it for you, which is the most convenient, but it is going to probably be the more expensive option. All right, let's move along to a really hot topic. Let's talk about electricity and gas. So out here in Alberta, electricity is called electricity. It is not called hydro. To us Albertans out here, hydro means water. And I don't even think we've ever said hydro. We just call it water. So just remember, when you're talking about your electricity bill, refer to it as electricity, or people are going to give you the stink eye. They don't know what you're talking about.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Now, there seems to be, mixed reviews on whether you're going to pay more in Ontario versus Alberta for gas and electricity. I think for the most part, when you learn that you can shop around here in Alberta, you have many different options. You can choose your provider. If you do shop around, you will pay a little bit less here in Alberta. And one of the best sites to use, and I send this to all my clients, is ucahelps.alberta.ca. You can go to their cost comparison tool, put in your postal code, and all of the providers that service your area are going to come up right on the page, and you can compare all of their rates against each other. Now, there's been instances where people have moved out here from Ontario and they've just kind of went with the go-to provider that most other people are using in the area. And I'm not going to name names of the provider because I don't want any lawsuits.
You try to stand in my way and you will regret.
This is highly subjective. Some people have good experiences, some people can have bad experiences, but they went with the go-to provider, and that provider didn't allow new customers to go on a fixed rate, so they were on a variable rate, which ranged anywhere from 13 cents to 27 cents per kilowatt hour. And when they finally went to the site that I just mentioned, ucahelps.alberta.ca, and they were able to compare against each other, they were able to lock in on a fixed rate as low as 8 cents per kilowatt hour, which is going to save them a ton of money every single month. And what's great about it is there's no off hours and peak hours. So you don't have to wait to do your dishes before a certain time, or run the vacuum cleaner, or do a load of laundry. It's just the same price throughout the entire day. There is no peak and off hours. So that's a nice bonus as well. So just remember that you do have options out here in Alberta. You can shop around, and I highly recommend you absolutely do shop around, because you will find a much better rate. And do not forget to get this stuff set up prior to your move. You're going to want to call ahead of time. You're going to make sure that when you do arrive at your new home in Alberta, that you do have gas, you have water, you have electricity, or that moving day might not be as happy as you were expecting it might be. All right, let's move along to another hot topic. Let's talk about the dreaded out of province vehicle inspection that everyone has to get done when they move to Alberta. Now, there could be some exemptions depending on how old your vehicle is or what province you're moving from, but if you are coming from Ontario, there is a pretty darn good chance that you're going to have to get this inspection done. So let's kind of talk about this a little bit. Let's kind of take away some of the cloudiness and the confusion that surrounds this, and talk about what steps you need to take. All right, the first step that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take your Ontario registration, and you're going to have to head down to an Alberta registry and purchase a request for an inspection form. Now, once you purchase this form, you can go anywhere to get this inspection done. So again, shop around. There is a huge discrepancy. I've heard people being charged, as much as $300, and other people getting it for $140, $150 for this inspection. So call around. It's up to you where you want to get it done. You do have options. You don't have to get it done through a certain, mechanic. I haven't heard great things about Canadian Tire, but that could just be the store, within that specific area. Again, this is highly subjective, but make sure you shop around, because there is a massive discrepancy in price. Now, these inspections, they can be kind of stiflers on this.
Well, polish my nuts and serve me a milkshake.
So there are definitely some things that are going to fail you for sure if you have them on your vehicle. One of the most common things that seems to trip people up is tint. You cannot have any tint on your front windows whatsoever. And we're not just talking about the windshield. We're talking about the front driver's side window as well as the front passenger side window. So you cannot have any tint or they will fail you. Some things like if there's excessive rust, if it's affecting the integrity of the vehicle, if there's sharp edges, or if there's holes, you can get failed for that. I've heard of people getting failed because there has been chips in the windshield.
Chip my windshield? I knew it.
You are in big trouble.
So they are pretty strict on this kind of stuff. Kind of a little bit of a pro tip here. I mean, obviously if your vehicle is worth any significant amount of money, this doesn't apply to you, but sometimes people are moving here, maybe they have an older car, it's not worth a ton of money. They know that it's not going to pass an out of province vehicle inspection, and the amount of money that they're going to have to pay to get it to pass the inspection is a good chunk of what the car is worth. So a lot of people are just selling their vehicle back in Ontario, and they move to Alberta, they buy a new one. Now, if there's anything found in the inspection that needs to be repaired, you have 10 days to do it. And once you get that re-inspected and the vehicle passes, you'll be issued a certificate that basically says you passed the inspection. From here, you can start to arrange insurance, and then you can get your registration. Now, here's another little bit of a pro tip. Once you get that certificate that says your vehicle has passed, you have 14 days to get that registered. To get registered, you're going to need insurance. So start shopping around for insurance well before those 14 days start, because I've heard of people, they've waited, once that vehicle is passed, now they start shopping around insurance, they're trying to get quotes, and sometimes they didn't make the deadline, they had to start the whole process over again. Also, obtain a letter of experience from your previous insurance company out in Ontario, so that when you do get to Alberta and you are shopping around for insurance, you're trying to find that best quote, they're not going to treat you like a new driver or a one, because you have that letter of experience from your previous insurance company. So again, make sure that you kind of have your ducks in a row. You've been shopping around, you found the best insurance quotes, you have that letter of experience, because you do only have 14 days from the time that vehicle passes, you get that certificate to get your registration. All right, let's quickly touch on some things when it comes to Alberta healthcare. To kind of talk a little bit about finding a doctor. When you move to Alberta, you want to make sure that you're starting the application process right away so that your Alberta healthcare kicks in. It takes 90 days from the date of the application process. So you want to make sure that when your Ontario healthcare starts running out, which is 90 days, your Alberta healthcare will be kicking in so that you do have coverage. Now, one little side note is that from what I gather, Ontario puts a lot more effort into their healthcare cards. I'm not sure what they look like, but it sounds like they put a little bit more money and a little bit more time and effort into them. Here in Alberta, that little white and green shitty piece of paper that you get in the mail, that is actually your Alberta healthcare card. I have lots of people asking me like, okay, when does the actual card get here? That is it. We don't put a lot of effort into our stuff, or at least to our healthcare cards out here in Alberta. So take that shitty little green and white card, take it to Staples, get it laminated. That is your actual Alberta health card.
You serious?
Deadly serious!
Now, I wish I could tell you that there's some magical site when it comes to finding a family doctor. You could just put in your postal code and all these doctors that are accepting new patients would just pop up. I think that family docs kind of across the nation is kind of in the same boat. They're kind of hard to find right now, depending on where you live, obviously. Some advice that I can give you is there are a ton of Facebook groups on Facebook, with people moving from Ontario to Alberta, from whatever province you're coming from, where they are more than willing to help each other out when it comes to these kind of things. They're offering lots of advice, lots of helpful information. So find these Facebook groups, be a part of them, ask a lot of questions. And as well, wherever you are living, just pull up Google Maps, find where the closest medical clinics are and start calling them. See if they're accepting new patients. You might get put on a wait list. Again, this depends where you live. It's going to be a little bit more difficult in the bigger cities. Smaller towns might not be as bad, but you definitely want to be proactive on this, especially if you're someone who's going to require, frequent visits to a family doctor. Now, if you can't find a family doctor right away, obviously there is a ton of walk-in clinics. The walk-in clinics in Alberta, from my experience, are very good. Yeah, you can run into some shitty doctors, but most of the time it's a really good experience. There is also the option to go to Emerge. Again, I don't think we should be clogging up emergency beds for things that are non-emergent, like sprained ankles or hangnails, especially, in areas like Red Deer. It is a super, super busy hospital where the wait times for ER are really rough. It services 500,000 people. It's the central hub of central Alberta. And I used to work on the fire department in Red Deer, where I was a paramedic as well as we worked the fire side of things. And I think one of the biggest reasons why emergency is so clogged up in Red Deer is because people are going to emergency for stupid shit. Things that you should be going to a walk-in clinic for, not to emergency.
Where the hell is that deadbeat hospital?
Find out.
I think overall, Alberta healthcare is really, really good. Where the one aspect where I think AHS has dropped the ball is kind of their management of ambulances and our lack of ambulances here in Alberta. Again, I told you I worked on the fire department. There'd be instances where I'd be at Station 4. It's midnight. There's no reason for this transfer to happen, but all of a sudden we get sent a transfer to take a patient home from Red Deer all the way out to Viking, Alberta, which is about a 2-hour trip one way. Non-emergent, just wanting to go home. And we get sent out there. And what happens is now that that ambulance is gone from Red Deer and the rest of the city gets busy, they start pulling in ambulances from the surrounding communities. So now those communities are low and it just seems to be a gigantic mess. Now I know the emergency department in Red Deer is being proactive. They're implementing a new system where they've hired RNs to actually take over patients from the paramedics in the back hallway, which in my opinion is awesome because that is going to free up the ambulances to get back out there. Because in Alberta, it seems that we're seeing in the news more often than we should that something has happened because the response time for the ambulance was just way too long. And there's even been instances in Red Deer where the fire truck has responded and no ambulance showed up. So they're actually having to transport patients in the back of a fire truck, which obviously is not optimal for many, many reasons. So I know I got off on a little bit of a tangent there. Make sure when you do get to Alberta, you are starting the application process for your Alberta healthcare right away so that when your Ontario healthcare runs out, which is 90 days, you have some Alberta healthcare to cover you. And family docs, I wish I could give you some magical button, but yeah, you might get put on a wait list, but start that process early as well. All right, let's talk about one final thing. Let's talk about the crime in Alberta. Now, if you go online and you read these blog articles or these articles from these journalists, they make it sound like Alberta is the worst province in the country for crime and that you don't want to move here. It's just a crime-ridden province and it would be the worst place to live. Now, I'm here to tell you that that is just a bunch of bullshit.
That is not true, Tonina. You tell him that that's not true.
Alberta is an absolutely safe province. When you look at our bigger cities compared to other provinces' bigger cities, it is a super safe area. If you look at Calgary, for example, it has just over 200 neighborhoods. I can think of maybe 1, 2, 3 areas that might be a little bit more sketchy than others, but that entire city is a very, very safe city, and never once have I felt uncomfortable anywhere within Calgary. Now, of course, each area of every city has their bad areas. Yes, there are some badder areas in Calgary. There are certain areas in Edmonton that aren't as desirable as other areas. And just like Red Deer, which is a mid-sized city with just over 100,000 people, yeah, there's probably a neighborhood or two that maybe you might not want to live in. But again, even that is subjective. Most of the crime in Alberta is petty crime. If you're being smart, if you're not leaving your valuables in your vehicle with your door unlocked, you're probably not going to have any issues and living in the right neighborhood. But even if you are living in the right neighborhood, it could just be the shithead kid down the street who noticed that you left your vehicle unlocked and they decided they were going to rummage through it. I lived in Vanier East for a long time, and there was probably 3 or 4 times where I left my truck unlocked and I ended up getting my Air Jordan stolen in my backpack. I mean, that can happen anywhere. That can happen in small towns. Of course, if there is a high profile crime, it's going to get reported in the news, and that's what a lot of people are going to read about. But again, most of the crime in Alberta is just property crimes or petty theft. It's not something that's super concerning. There's not a lot of violent crime out here. Time and time again, when people move here, they just comment on how friendly it is here and how much safer they feel living here than they have in their other provinces. So when you are moving to Alberta, make sure that you are being advised properly. You want to live in the right neighborhoods. And if you're not looking for trouble, trouble is not going to find you. Don't do dumb things like I did, like leaving my truck unlocked with valuables in it, or leaving your garage unlocked with, a bunch of bikes out in the open. That's when you might run into trouble. But again, that can happen anywhere across the country, and it's not just specific to Alberta. So don't get freaked out when you read online that Alberta has so much crime. It's a super safe province and it is a great place to live. All right, guys, I hope this video helped you out. I know it was a little bit more of a kind of a step-by-step guide or tactical video on what you should do when you're moving here. I know I get asked these questions a lot, and these are a lot of questions that people are wondering about. So if you did like the video, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and definitely click that notification bell so you are notified every week when a new video comes out. And of course, if you would like any help with your real estate needs, I am a realtor in the province. Use this information popping up. Get a hold of me any way you know how. Would love to hear from you. All right, guys, I will see you next week. Cheers.